One Sunday evening, I decided to step out of the house and get some fresh air at the park near my home, about 5 minutes away. I don't usually go there often, maybe once a month. But that day, I felt I needed a break. I had been spending too much time indoors with the air conditioner running non-stop, at work, in the car, and at home, 24/7. So I went to the park to breathe a little fresh air and clear my mind. I found a bench and began to read a newspaper. As I read, I came across the results of the 2020 election. It said that tens of millions of people had voted. I paused, thinking to myself, wow, there are so many people in this country. And that thought led me deeper, asking, why do we human beings always fight for power, for money, for land, for resources? Why can't we share and live together in peace as brothers and sisters? As I sat in that quiet meditation, a gentleman, probably in his 50s, came and sat right next to me on the same bench. I wondered, of all the empty benches in this park, why did he choose mine? There were maybe a dozen people around and plenty of space, but I decided not to overthink it and kept to myself. The gentleman was on his phone, speaking loudly. At first, I paid little attention, but then something he said caught my attention. He said, when I was here before, in this world, before my coma, I was the kind of man who would get angry, irritated about everything. I carried stress and bitterness everywhere I went. Then one day, I suffered a stroke, and I fell into a coma for more than 2 years. That stopped me in my tracks. My curiosity got the better of me, and I stayed. He continued, but God gave me a second chance. I'm a new man now. I don't get angry anymore. What they didn't know was that I could hear everything. I heard the doctors, the nurses, even my wife asking if I would ever wake up. I could hear it all, but I couldn't move or respond. The doctors told my wife there was still hope. Mr. Peterson is here with us. We're feeding him. His pulse is strong. We just have to be patient. Then his voice grew gentler. While my body lay in that hospital bed, my spirit was alive. Before my stroke, I had been a pastor, preaching the Bible in many places, and even in my coma, it seemed God allowed me to keep preaching. But in a way I had never known before. I was traveling, sharing the gospel about Jesus Christ, filled with a happiness I cannot describe. I had no worries, no bills, no burdens, no anger. I didn't even think about my family except when my wife visited. Then I remembered. But soon, I was gone again, continuing my journey. He went on. One day, I found myself in a place unlike anything I had ever seen. It was so quiet, so peaceful and beautiful, filled only with the sound of birds. Birds sang as I stood on a narrow road, surrounded by enormous trees, taller and greater than anything I had ever seen on earth. Suddenly, I saw someone in the distance, dressed in white. I couldn't see the face, only the hands. The figure spoke. "Don't worry, Peterson. Everything will be fine for you." I wanted to walk closer, but the figure said, "No, you cannot come here. Stay where you are." Yet even from far away, I felt something incredible. A warm embrace, a hug without touch. At that moment, I knew exactly who it was. It was Jesus Christ. The gentleman's voice cracked as he recalled, "Jesus Christ said to me, 'You are my son, and I love you very much. Go back to your church in your town. Sit there and listen to the word of God.'" Then the gentleman said, and just like that, I heard another voice. A nurse was calling, "Mr. Peterson, Mr. Peterson, you're awake, you're back." And I had opened my eyes. It was a nurse who had cared for him for months. She called the other nurses and the doctors who rushed in to see that he had finally woken up. Finally, he said, "When I awoke, my body was weak, my right hand nearly lifeless. My family situation had changed, but instead of anger, I felt peace. I forgave. I accepted. I knew God had given me a second chance, not to live in bitterness, but to live in grace." Listening to this gentleman, I felt something stir deep inside me. It wasn't just his story that moved me, it was the way God used him to remind me of my own experience. You see, many years ago, I went through something I've never spoken about, something I couldn't explain. Like him, I also found myself outside my body, watching, feeling, and understanding things no human words can truly describe. For a long time, I kept it to myself, afraid people wouldn't believe me. But after hearing this man speak so openly about what God showed him, I realized, maybe it's time I tell my story. I know it's on YouTube. Because I believe with all my heart what he saw and what I experienced both point to one truth: God is real, and his love reaches even beyond the veil of death. My testimony. I had a powerful experience one day after work. It was around 6 p.m. on Friday, June 24, 2004. I came home from work after a long day and was very tired that evening, so I went to take a shower. Afterwards, I was about to brush my teeth when I accidentally dropped the toothpaste. As I bent down to pick it up, I hit my head hard on the sink. The pain was so severe that I had to sit down on the bathroom floor, and I couldn't get up. Suddenly, I saw a shimmering, wave-like blur in front of my eyes, as if everything around me was rippling like water. I felt like I was about to faint. The very next moment, I found myself floating above my body. From the ceiling, I looked down and saw my body still lying on the bathroom floor. In that state, I felt no pain, only freedom. The first thought that came to my mind was to leave the house, fly, and explore. I wanted to go out into space, to visit another planet. I remember saying to myself, I'm going to visit Mars. As I traveled, I suddenly felt the presence of a beautiful woman on my left side. She didn't speak to me with words, but I knew she was guiding me. She said, "This way," and together we flew at incredible speed. In an instant, I was no longer in space. I didn't have the chance to visit planet Mars. I did not remember walking to an entrance building or a warehouse door either. But I was inside a massive white warehouse, so big it could hold thousands of people. Yet it was completely empty and spotless, except for one chair. I was sitting in that chair. Everything inside was white and gold. As I sat there, looking at my hands resting on my knees, I wondered, what am I doing here? Where is everyone else? Something amazing happened. On the walls around me, I saw many screens. They were like circles, not rectangular like TVs, but not like anything from this world. On my left and right sides, a lot of smaller screens appeared. But in front of me, far away, there was one enormous screen, and whenever I looked at a smaller screen, each thing that I thought about in my past moved to the big one, so I could see everything in perfect detail. On those screens, I saw moments from my past. I saw myself as a little boy, walking with my friends to school. I saw myself playing in my neighborhood, full of life and joy. I watched childhood memories I had often wished I could relive, and there they were, alive before me. On the big screen, I saw myself playing cowboys with my friends. I saw myself in college, sitting in class as a young man. Each glimpse was like a gift, reminding me of who I was and the journey I had lived. But then I looked at one of the bottom screens on my right, but it wasn't the last screen. And this time, what I saw was shocking. I saw myself lying on my bathroom floor, hands on my forehead as if I were dead. That was the moment I asked myself again, why am I here? What am I doing here? Where is everyone else? I thought I was in a clinic waiting for a nurse to call me to see a doctor. You know, for me, it felt like waiting at a doctor's office. And then, just as I thought that, a tall, radiant woman appeared from behind a hidden wall. Only then did I see the door she stepped through. I stood up immediately, thinking she was calling me into another room, maybe to see a doctor. But instead of a room, I saw something far more extraordinary. A valley surrounded by mountains with thousands of people, men, women, children, all walking peacefully in a line toward a place I could not see. The sight filled me with a longing I cannot explain. It felt like they were heading to a place of joy and peace, and I wanted to join them. But the woman stopped me. She knew that I had already seen the outside, and she said to me, "You cannot go in there," she said firmly. "If you do, there is no coming back." She looked at me and asked, "What are you doing here?" I told her, "The people told me to come here." That was my answer. I didn't know how I got there, but I knew, and she also knew, that I was talking about the angel lady, my guide who took me to that big warehouse. In her hands was something like a tablet. It was medium-sized, but unlike anything on Earth. It was made of crystal, glowing and rectangular. She looked into it and said, "No, you're not on the list." She pointed me back toward the way I had come, on my left. Again, I did not walk out of a door. Suddenly, I was flying through space again, looking for planet Earth. I did not go to visit planet Mars. I believe that the same woman who had first guided me was with me once more. She was radiant, dressed in a garment like pure white snow, flowing like light and vapor. She didn't speak out loud, but communicated with me through thoughts, guiding me back to my hometown in Florida. And then, just like that, I woke up. I opened my eyes. I was alive, and I knew that I came back to Earth with the same headache. I was already in the emergency room. My wife was at my side, telling me that I had hit my head and that for a moment I was gone. But for me, I knew that I had been somewhere else. And in that place, I was free, in peace, happy, and unafraid. At the hospital, the doctor told my wife that I would need to spend the night for observation. The nurse gave me some more medication because when I returned to my body, I still had a severe headache from the accident. I believe with all my heart that my spiritual body went somewhere to be shown something. I probably died that night, and God allowed me to see a glimpse of eternity before sending me back here. I wasn't on the list yet. My time here wasn't finished. That experience changed me forever. I know now, without any doubt, that life continues after death, and that there is a place prepared for me. Why not? For all of us, when the time comes.